Guys, so let's start our today's current affair session. The first article is about government cereal stocks dipping to 5-year low amid multi-year high inflation. So in this diagrammatic chart, we have that presently in lakh tons, we saw an increase in procurement of food grains or public cereal by FCI. This is the procurement or stocks that FCI was handling. But in 2022, we see a huge dip. Also, remember, if the question comes that FCI stocks were increasing public cereal steadily, no, it's not true. We see a dip in 2020 as well, right? It's a very minute dip over here in rice section, right? In total value, this still is leading. So it's more about what is written in the question. We have to be very specific about the question. So if it says that there has been a steady increase in public cereal stocks held by FCI over the years till 2021, yes. Was it in the case of rice? No. And if it includes now 2022, so definitely not. We see a very sharp dip in the cereal stocks held by FCI. Also, the mandated stocks that FCI needs to hold for rice and wheat is given over here. This is the norm. Around 205 lakh tons for wheat, 102 lakh tons for rice. So we always have been holding much more than what the norm is. So according to data from FCI, wheat and rice stocks in public godowns total 511 lakh tons as on October 1. This is the lowest for same date since 2017. Now, the reasons for fall in stocks: lower procurement of wheat during Rabi marketing season, then continuation of free food grain scheme, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, and then Russia-Ukraine war boosted international food grain prices, tempting farmers to sell produce to private traders for export. So we have supply of food grains and we have demand for food grains. So here we are saying that due to the free food grain scheme called Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, there has been a high dispersal. While on the supply side, the international prices increasing in food grains due to Russia-Ukraine war and other, what we can say, the re-establishment of global supply chain in a very, not completely, but partially, it has led to export minded or agripreneurship in export sector for food grains. So due to these factors, we are seeing a fall in stock. What are the significance of buffer stock? So this norm that we are showing over here, it is for buffer stocks that need to be held by FCI. So why the buffer stock? Keep prices of goods and commodities stable. So in case there is a very high inflation, such food grains can be released in the market, and when they are released in the market, it would eventually lead to the fall of prices. However, India is also witnessing 8-year high inflation for cereals. Second, prevent economic shocks as a result of shortages and guard against any unplanned events such as production or harvest failure or recently the COVID-19. So food grain stocking norms refers to a level of stock in the central pool that is sufficient to meet operational requirement of food grains and exigencies at any point of time. Buffer stock concept came during fourth 5-year plan 1969-74, and presently stocking norms fixed are in terms of operational stocks to meet monthly distributional requirement under TDPS, and then food security stocks for meeting shortfall in procurement. So this was all about how government cereal stocks is presently facing a strong dip. Other than that, for procurement side, we have MSP going on. Then there is also MIS. MIS is your market intervention scheme. Again, this is done by central government, but not solely by central government as opposed to MSP. MIS is requested by states when they see a case where food grains are either seeing a 10% fall in production, 10% fall in prices in international market, or there is a rampant 10% increase in production. So because these are unprecedented events, states request MIS to center. Center at 50:50 ratio, which is the loss ratio, right, comes in agreement with states in order to procure the crops that are handled by states. Now, these crops that are handled by states are crops other than what MSP is covering. So here we have horticulture and perishable food grains, right? And for northeastern state, the center bears 75% of loss, while 25% loss is bared by northeastern states. So this is what MIS is, which is separate from MSP. Okay. Moving on, the next article is about a report which is titled Developing the Space Ecosystem in India, Focusing on Inclusive Growth, released. So it was developed in collaboration with ISPA and Ernst & Young, that focuses on developing a holistic space ecosystem in India. Now, it covers the outlook of space economy in India, its potential to accelerate socio-economic development of country. Key findings: Indian space economy is set to reach $13 billion by 2025. Then during 2014 to 2019, ISRO generated more than 165 million revenue US dollars by launch of satellites from 26 countries. And India's space sector accounts for only 2% of global space economy, but can aim to touch 8% with private sector participation. So what is the significance of private sector participation? There is a rising demand for space-based applications. Like now, Indians also want something like Starlink. Starlink is a project of number of satellites or chain of satellites for communication by Elon Musk SpaceX, right? Then enable ISRO to focus on strategic objectives and bring in innovation for developing cost-effective space-based application services due to competition between private sector as well as ISRO. Concerns associated: so there will be multiplicity of approvals and procedural ambiguity, lack of clear, specific and predictable regulations, and conflict of interest, as ISRO is both a regulator and an operator. Till now, what are the steps taken for private sector participation? So we have created InSpace, reorientation of New Space India Limited activities from supply-driven model to demand-driven model. India is also working on a new Indian space policy to promote ease of doing business in space sector. And then Indian Space Association ISPA launched in 2021. So these are some of the steps taken for private sector participation in space. Moving on, the next article is about study title Employment Guarantee During COVID-19, Role of Manrega in Year After. Role of Manrega in Year After 2020 Lockdown, released. So it was conducted by Center for Sustainable Employment, Ajim Premji University, along with others in Bihar, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. So it was a private university collaboration. It highlighted that wages earned under Manrega helped compensating 20% to 80% of income loss incurred because of COVID-19 lockdown. Also, it points out the following issue. Around 40% of all job card households interested in working under Manrega did not get a single day of work in 2020-21. So this basically tells us that the two biggest sectors which are related to employment, which are agriculture and your construction or sometimes textile. So these three sectors somewhat saw a huge shock. But because agriculture is not exclusively coming in Manrega, and the shocks observed in construction and textiles were significant, this saw not even a single day of work to around 40% of job holding households. Then major reason for not getting work was lack of adequate works being sanctioned. So either there was a very long distance where the projects were being sanctioned, or the projects that were being sanctioned were not suitable for people who were applying for Manrega, under Manrega. Then only 36% of households who worked under this scheme received their wages in 15 days. Unmet demand was 64 days among households that found some work. Unmet demand is difference between number of days desired and number of days of work received. Recommendations to fulfill unmet demand: Manrega wage bill needs to be increased at least 3 times. Increase Manrega wage rates to at least state minimum wage or rupees 375 per day as mooted by Anup Satpathy committee. And then every agency involved in payment of Manrega wages must be brought within ambit of social audits. What is Manrega? So it's a demand-driven wage employment program under the Ministry of Rural Development, providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a financial year to every rural household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work. And agriculture allied activities do not come under this particular scheme. Cool. Then we have Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change to help set up paddy straw pallet units to arrest stubble burning. So it released CPCB guidelines for grant of one-time financial support for promoting establishment of paddy straw-based pelletization and torrefication plants. So what is torrefication? Basically means that whatever crops, what we say that stubble is being generated or subsidy is being generated, using that particular stubble to form a material which is similar to coal, and this particular agri coal is then used by thermal power plants to generate electricity or power. Key highlights: so it enable reduced burning of paddy straw because now there would be a price when you provide this particular pellets. Then there would be reduced usage of fossil fuels in industries and boilers by promoting usage of pelletized torrefied paddy straw, and then bridge crucial gap in biomass supply chain. About pelletization torrefication, so the process involves shedding, drying, grinding, and pellet making. Major difference between pelletization and torrefication is that there is a presence of torrefication reactor. Paddy straw made into pellets or torrefied can be mixed along with coal in TPPs, thus saves coal and reducing carbon emissions. Why these actions are being taken? To prevent the process of stubble farming, which is setting on fire straw stubble left after harvesting of grains like paddy, wheat, etc. Pollutants majorly released are carbon dioxide, monoxide, nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, methane, as well as particulate matter PM10 and PM2.5. What are the initiatives to tackle stubble burning? So there is scheme for promotion of agriculture mechanization for in situ management of crop residue. Then there is crop diversification being promoted in states of Punjab and Haryana. Coal-based thermal power plants to co-fire biomass-based pellets, torrefied pellets, and then there is a biodecomposer solution to support degradation process of stubble. This particular solution developed by USA, Delhi. Now, the next article is about government according infrastructure status to data centers. So now data centers with a minimum capacity of 5 megawatts of IT load will be considered eligible for infrastructure status. Data center is included in harmonized master list of infrastructure subsectors. Data center capacity is measured in terms of power they consume, which reflects on scale of server they are hosting in their facilities. And it was pre-announced in budget speech. Significance of move, so it helps data center companies to get easier access to institutional credit at lower rates, attract foreign investment, etc. So the normal term that we use for data centers generally is BPO, right? So to provide them easier access to institutional credit at lower rates, attract foreign investment, etc. This particular step has been taken. Also in 2020, MeitY has released draft data center policy, which aims to make India a global data center hub, promote investment in sector, and facilitate state-of-art service delivery to citizens. Why focus on data centers? So presently India has around 500 megawatts installed power capacity for data centers, which is projected to grow to 1000 megawatts by 2023. Data localization norms make it crucial to set up a robust data center infrastructure in India, and this is necessary to protect India's digital sovereignty in connected world. What is a data center? So dedicated secure space within a centralized location for collecting the data, and provides network infrastructure, storage infrastructure, and computing resources for the data being stored or being handled. Finally, the last article is about MCI or Ministry of Commerce and Industry releasing logistic ease across different states or leads 2022 survey report. So indigenous data-driven index to assess logistic infrastructure, services, and human resources across all 36 states and UT. A key tool to drive logistics sector efficiency that helps achieve target of bringing down logistic cost compared to global benchmark, and it was first launched in 2018. Key highlights: so adopted classification based grading system, while previous versions were based on ranking systems for all states. So here we can see that we have now categories. We have achievers, fast movers, and aspirers. In states, we have divided them into landlocked, coastal, northeastern region, and UTs. So in achievers, we have these much, we have fast movers such as these, and then we have aspirers, which means that they are not at the optimum level. So no need to like remember the whole data or rankings, right? Now, three performance categories. Achievers are where they were having 90% or better sector efficiency. Fast movers where it was around 80 to 90% sector efficiency, and aspirers where it was less than 80%. Significance of leads. So it's an indicator of efficiency of services that are necessary to boost trade competitiveness and economic growth. That is your ease of doing business. Brings to light the key logistic related challenges, offers recommendations, and guides and bridge a mechanism for identification of interventions enhancing logistic efficiency. What are the recommendations? So states should draft their respective logistic policy in line with NLP 2022. A grievance redressal system in line with ease of logistic portal, ELOX portal. Identify and improve conditions of intersection road points, and establish dedicated land bank for logistic infrastructure. Now, what is logistics? So it's a process of planning and executing efficient transportation and storage of goods from point of origin to point of consumption. And the sector is estimated to account for about 14.4% of GDP. So now we have articles related to prelims. Split verdict. So Supreme Court recently delivered a split verdict in Karnataka hijab ban case, which ultimately led to this case now being heard in larger bench constituted by Chief Justice of India. So split verdict is passed when bench cannot decide one way or another in a case either by a unanimous decision or by a majority verdict. Normally, judges sit in benches of odd numbers for important cases. In case of split verdict, cases heard by a larger bench. Then we have GIFT City, so center to allow foreign universities via GIFT. International Financial Service Centers Authority. Regulations for setting up and operation of international branch campuses and offshore education centers at GIFT City have been notified recently. It allows foreign universities to operate in GIFT City free from domestic regulations. Key guidelines. So courses and degrees offered in Indian campuses of foreign universities and institutes must be identical to foreign campuses. Also, a foreign university among top 500 in quality service university ranking. Sorry, QS is not quality. It's an organization. So QS university rankings or reputed foreign institute can apply. So either they have to be ranked under top 500 QS university ranking, or they should be reputed foreign institute, which would be decided by Ministry of Education or Ministry of External Affairs. Now we have World Economic Outlook. So it's published by IMF. Key findings. So India is projected to be second fast growing major economy in 2022. Next to Saudi Arabia. So it's not China, but Saudi Arabia, which would be the fastest growing major economy. And then there would be India. The GDP growth rate is better. Inflation is not as high. What are the threats? So higher crude oil and fertilizer prices will spike domestic inflation due to Ukraine war. Then we have global slowdown, which will hurt exports, dragging down domestic growth. Worsening trade deficit and strong dollar will put pressure on rupees exchange rate. Then we have NDF market or non-deliverable forward market. So it's a foreign exchange contract where two parties agree to on a date in future exchange currencies for prevailing spot rate. So under this, an NDF is fixed for an agreed amount on a specific due date and at a defined forward rate. At maturity, Forward rate is compared against reference rate of that day. Difference between the pre-agreed forward rate and fixing rate is settled in convertible currency like US dollars. This is useful when dealing with non-convertible currencies or currencies with trading restrictions like Indian rupee. Then we have IUCN Global Ecosystem Typology. So it's a hierarchical classification framework for classifying and mapping all Earth's ecosystem, integrating their functional and compositional features. There are six hierarchical levels, three upper levels based on functional characteristics, and lower levels distinguishing functionality from one another on as well as on the basis of compositional resemblance. Then we have tidal disruption events. So in 2018, scientists observed a black hole ripping a star into shreds because it got too close. It was discovered when scientists were revisiting tidal disruption events that occurred over last few years. So it is an event when a black hole violently rips apart stars that gets too close. When a star comes close to a black hole, gravitational force will stretch or spaghettify star. This elongated material spirals around black hole, gets heated up and creates a flash that can be detected by millions of lights year away, including us. So the debris that he formed over here after the stretching, some of it remains in rotation and some of which gets unbounded and throws into space. So these are some of the events why our galaxies, heliospheres becomes important. So heliosphere is basically you have sun over here, you have around your let's assume around your 8 planets over here and other asteroids and planetoids in this particular galaxy, which is a Milky Way galaxy, right? Because we are moving forward, somewhat of a structure which is like a spaceship is formed. This is your heliosphere. So the occurrence of such events as well as the glacial dust, the spatial dust which is existing in the space already, it leads to formation of heliosphere around our galaxy which protect us from such dust particles or events and ultimately saving our what we can say sanctity. Finally, we have just energy transition participation. So some member countries of G7 plan on persuading India to start negotiation on just energy transition partnership. Agreement between governments of South Africa, United States, United Kingdom, France, Germany and EU helps large developing economies to move away from coal in their electricity system and achieve Paris climate goals. $8.5 billion multinational venture aims to accelerate phase out of coal-fired power generation by incentivizing flow of clean energy investment. So this is a financial tool which will greatly help India in order to transit from coal-fired power generation to clean energy power generation. Under Panchamrit, our goal is to achieve 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel based energy by 2030, which is now our INDC also updated. Finally, we have sloth beer. So in sloth beer, we have the first World Sloth Beer Day on October 12 was observed by MOE, FCC and Central Zoo Authority. There are some facts given here. Remember, under Schedule 1, insights it's coming in, I think, Schedule 2. 90% of the population is in Indian continent and it's vulnerable on IUCN Red List, as well as there's a lifespan of 40 years, nocturnal nature, omnivore, long shaggy, dark brown or black fur, etc. And habitat range from endemic to Indian subcontinent with small populations in Nepal and Sri Lanka. So this was all about today's current affairs. Does anyone want to add anything in the articles?
Tamil Nadu also notified that slender lories, I don't know, wildlife sanctuary, I think.
Hmm. Loris something, no?
Right, right. Slender lories, which is endangered species also.
Today we have snow leopard, so that comes under vulnerable category, and schedule 1 comes under schedule 1 protected, and its news is about snow leopard in Arunachal Pradesh, in Namdapa wildlife sanctuary or reserve, like something like that.
So what happened to it?
Let me see that.